So I've been doing an awful lot of trash talk about how the Cheetah is just as good of a putter as my putter, which I use a Gateway Wizard as a putter. So today we're going to put that to the test. We're going to see if I'm not lying. Here's the Cheetah. It is beat to heck at this point, and there is one of my favorite wizards. It's an Arch stamp, but not one of the Nico ones. It's way older. I think it's actually the original run of Organic Wizard. So we're going to play a little bit of a putting game here today. We're going to take putts from starting at 15 feet all the way back to 40 feet in increments of 5 feet. And for each make we get on our first throw, it's going to be 5 points. And then on secondary throws, 1 point. So if I miss the initial putt, the comebacker is worth 1 point. And the reason that I did that was to try and get a good look if by missing we end up going long enough with the Cheetah that we end up missing the comebacker too. And speaking of missing, there's our first one, and we did it at 15 feet, which is not looking good for the Cheetah right out of the gate. So Wizard so far has been perfect, and that finishes up our first throwing distance, which was 15 feet. We're going to head back to 20 feet now, and the Wizard is still perfect at that distance. I think this is going to be a pretty good test. I think the Cheetah is going to do a pretty good job of keeping up, even though we did miss that one shorty there. But you've seen how I was putting with it out on the course in those 2 one-disc challenges, and I do think it's going to show up again here today and really shine for us. Again, so far, Wizard's perfect through both 15 and 20 feet. So doing really good here. Moving back to 25 feet at this point, and there we have the first miss out of the Wizard. The Cheetah comes through, so we are tied up. And there we go. They keep catching. So I'm excited to see how this ends up going. As we get back to a further distance here, I start to notice sort of a problem with the way that I went and did this. So I'm throwing each disc one after the other at each distance, and the 2 discs fly so completely different. The Cheetah has a completely different grip. It's way more understable than the Wizard, and it's really hard to, in your brain, prepare yourself for the different discs. I think if I had to redo this, what I would do is all of the throws with the Wizard first, and then all of the throws with the Cheetah next. And I think it would give a better representation of which disc is a better putting option for us. Because right now, I think I'm throwing off both of the numbers by throwing them one after the other. The other thing is we have a pretty good crosswind here, and I know that it's hard to see it on the video, especially I have the volume turned down pretty low, but we had a pretty good cross breeze, which was blowing these discs to the right, and I was having to correct for that. The Cheetah, once again, being way more understable, was pushing harder to the right than the Wizard was ending up doing. So it definitely made for a somewhat difficult putting challenge. Right now, we're back there at 30 feet, so we're just inside the circle here and making the last couple of putts inside the circle. Right now, the Wizard has the lead back, and we're still making a decent number of putts. That's the end of inside the circle. So 75% for the Cheetah, 78% for the Wizard. So right around 76.5% overall putting make percentage inside the circle. And I'd say that's pretty good for using 2 completely different discs. I wish it was better, and maybe we'll have to redo this in a way where we end up seeing 1 disc at a time if we end up getting a better make percentage. Still a pretty close battle. Could go in either direction. Right now, oh man, that was ugly. I showed it to you again there. That went right into the center of chains and just bounced out. So the Cheetah did finally miss a comebacker, but it was a 5-footer. Like, that should not have been a miss whatsoever. But a 9-point lead now for the Wizard. The Cheetah needs to start making some if it wants to have even a close chance of beating the Wizard at this point. There was a long comebacker there. That was probably a 20-foot comebacker. Yeah, more misses. So this first look outside the circle, We're at 35 feet, not looking great, missing a bunch of them from there. And now we're backing up to 40 feet and doesn't start off well there either. The Cheetah tries to get it and just hits the top of the cage there. Not really given a good chance to get it. So at this point, I don't think it's going to be possible for the Cheetah to come back. That one had the height, but not really the angle. Long comeback, or we made that drop in for the Wizard. So with just a few throws left here, I don't think there's any way that the Cheetah can come back, and they both miss again. So really not doing great from 40 feet. That wind and the difference in the discs is really playing a difference. We are making all of those short ones though. And I think 2 throws left here. Wizard makes one there and puts this away. There's no way that the Cheetah can come back here. Makes another decent comebacker there. We got 1 throw left to complete this series, but it looks like the Wizard did end up beating the Cheetah. And yeah, a putter did do better than a super understable fairway driver for putting duties. Who would have thought? What a crazy situation. The Wizard is the winner. We'll give you one last shot at that beautiful OG Wizard. Great putting putter. I've been putting with that for probably about 12 years at this point, I think. And here we go. Just for fun, let's see what the Cheetah can do from this long range. And this is where I thought it would excel, but it didn't make a single one. There's 1, and without switching to the Wizard in between, there's 2. I'm going to keep updating that percentage and that score just to try and get it a little bit closer. Let's see if it can do 3 in a row. Yes, it can. So there we go. 3 in a row with the Cheetah. It is a good putter at distance. I think we need to redo this. I think we need to do it in a way where we do 1 disc at a time and see if the Cheetah can do better. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.